Hello friends, it's me, and today let's watch why you should never buy Amazon returns style theory from the style tiers. Together, let's go. Let's start.
How often do you return items to Amazon? Well, what if I told you that with every return, you are contributing to a secret society of sellers using your returns to potentially scam people out of their hard-earned money?
What?
Hello Internet,
Style
welcome to Style Theory, the show that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee once you hit that subscribe button. And
Subscribe.
Speaking of return
Hello Internet, welcome to Style Theory. Hi.
policies, I've noticed an unusual trend popping up.
I just bought 100 Amazon packages, but where the heck did we get these? Which brings us to Black Friday Deals, a store that only sells Amazon return items.
I bought this 10-foot tall pallet of your Amazon returns.
This box is worth between $4,000 and $5,000 of product returns.
So I want to get my cold, sweaty little hands on one of these boxes of Amazon returns.
Hold up. When you think of returns, you likely think of broken or damaged items, ones that arrive at your doorstep already in bad condition, so you send them back. But that's not what's happening here, at least not fully. So how did we get here? To a place where your favorite creators are buying piles and piles of returns for content. And who is really responsible? I have a list of 3 potential suspects that might be the cause of this creator conundrum. So let's not waste any time and dive into the first suspect, the one that's written right on the box. While the concept of free and easy returns actually started with Zappos, the shoe company, way back in 1999, the company that packaged it all up to sell to the masses was...
Wait, 1999 was 26 years ago? No, it's 26 years ago.
none other than Amazon and its CEO.
Jeffrey Bezos.
They are the king
The richest person in the world. One of, I think. Sorry.
of easy returns. No, really. From the outside, it appears like they accept anything of any quality. But is that really true? Well, not according to their policy guidelines. As their website states, you can get a full refund on almost any item within 30 days of the item being delivered, as long as the item is in its original condition. That means that unless you can prove the damage to the item happened in transit, you are only supposed to get a full refund if the item is in a resellable condition. If it comes in less than that condition, it can only be resold as used. But the term used has a couple different meanings, at least according to Amazon. If the item is working perfectly but the outer packaging is still missing, then the item is marked as like new. If there are signs of wear and tear, it's marked down to very good. If, say, the cosmetic damage is a little bit worse than that and there may be some pieces missing, the condition is called good. And if the item is worse than that, but it's still basically functions, it's considered to be acceptable. Yep, it's important to pay attention to those categories when you're shopping for a used item on Amazon. But no matter what condition it is, that item can still only be resold at a marked down price, which means that Amazon, or the seller on Amazon, is losing money on your purchase. Yeah, side note, if you didn't know, and no tea, no shade, some people don't, right, Mom? Not everything sold on Amazon is sold by Amazon. While Amazon does manufacture and distribute a lot of the goods found on their website, typically under the Amazon Basics label, the majority of items are not by them. So how does Amazon still do free returns if it doesn't actually own the product it's selling? By offering the sellers a deal they can't refuse. Literally. It's a system called Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA. This service allows sellers to use Amazon resources to sell their items for a fee. Yeah, Amazon isn't just going to let people use their stuff. There has to be something in it for them too. This includes things like monthly storage fees that are calculated based on how much stock you have in the warehouse versus how frequently they've been shipped in the last 4 months. So like, if your product isn't moving off the shelves quickly enough, you are going to be charged. And if it doesn't sell at all, another fee. The aged inventory surcharge charges sellers if a product is still in the warehouse after 180 90 days. This fee starts at about 50 cents per cubic foot, but can go as high as $6.90. That really adds up very fast. And all of that is before the item is returned to end up on one of those giant pallets being unboxed. And when that item is returned, the seller gets, say it with me theorists, charged yet another fee. Now, restocking fees cover the price of labor to restock the item, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing. Workers need to be paid a living wage after all, right? However, this also means that on top of paying out the refund to you, the sellers actually lose money on any item that's returned. Yeah.
Which is why I guess, maybe I'm seeing a lot of like small third-party sellers that is like own self one man job, do finish everything, have to suffer so much. Okay, that sucks. That actually sucks.
They are going into debt and paying for your return to Amazon. Ouchie! And it only gets worse. Those sellers lose even more money if the returned item is in such poor quality that it needs to be disposed of. Yeah, kinda sucks to be a seller, huh? Well, back to those piles and piles of returns being unboxed
And
on...
the unfortunate thing is, it just decentivizes individuals to be sellers. It decentivizes the individuals to be creative. It decentivizes individuals to try out this entrepreneurship thingy, because the odds are, I don't know, 99% failure or 90% failure. The odds are against you. May the odds be ever in your favor. Gosh.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and literally...
Oh, sorry.
returns being unboxed on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and literally everywhere nowadays. How does a return go from being chucked in a landfill to being unboxed on your screen for entertainment? Well, when sellers are faced with fees upon fees upon fees for their item being stored, shipped, returned, restocked, and literally everything else possible, they need to find some way of saving the sale. Which brings us to suspect number 2. Liquidation isn't about turning returned items into some weird soup, nor is it about murdering someone violently, despite what Google's dictionary seems to think. Are you okay, Google? I think you need a nap. Liquidation allows businesses, or in this case sellers, to
Okay, that escalated quickly.
consolidate their unsold products for a very small profit, typically between 5 to 10% of the original price that item was being sold. This is hopefully just enough to cover all of those fees we were just talking about so that the seller doesn't start to owe money on their products. They do this via Amazon's liquidation program. Yes, after charging sellers so many fees, Amazon kindly created a program to help them get rid of those damaged or overstocked items. So instead of the seller paying restocking fees, storage fees, and additional disposal fees, the seller then gets paid to liquidate their products. Amazon claims that this does 2 things. 1, it helps sellers struggling to move their products get things out of their warehouses, and 2, it promotes sustainability, giving used items a second life rather than just throwing them away. Great, right? Otherwise, that product, both new and used, ends up in one of 3 places. Landfills, which can cause things like methane pollution as products decompose, recycling centers, where if they have too much stock, recycled items can still end up in landfills. Amazon does say that it is moving away from using landfills, but based on reports by ITV News in the UK, there are still instances of landfills being used. And then there's option 3. The products are incinerated as part of the energy recovery program. This process involves torching these items at a blazing 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit to boil water into steam that then moves turbines that then power a generator, hence energy recovery. And while on paper that sounds like a good alternative, it's not a perfect process. This incineration does create things like carbon and toxic ash.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Yeah.
I get that point. Ash, the host of the GT Live.
When it comes to dealing with excess product and returns, there aren't a lot of great options. And at the scale that countries like the US are disposing of unwanted items, which comes out to about 292 million tons a year, it is a huge problem, which is why Amazon and its sellers have turned to liquidation. Now, this isn't a new thing. Like Amazon took Zappos' idea of free shipping and amplified it by like 1,000, it took its liquidation sales tactics right out of the 1970s and 80s. You see, when companies go out of business, they liquidate their assets to try and offset the cost of having to close their doors. This can cover things like rent, employee paychecks, and outstanding debts. If you've been following the recent closings of Joann Fabrics, you've been seeing this process play out in real time.
You can now see that every single Joann store nationwide will close and are listed on the app and online as a liquidated store.
Now, unlike Joann's, Amazon doesn't always sell its liquidated items via its own site. Though, yes, that is an option. You can buy different itemized lots from its bulk liquidation section. These are typically separated out into product categories like apparel, sports, toys, you get the idea. Though the accuracy of these categories are questionable, at least you know what you're buying, right? Sort of. While most should be in usable condition, some items are definitely not.
Couch cover. This one's covered in hair, so I'm not gonna open it.
This might be a gently used Keurig.
As long as they used it gently. Oop, I lost a bit. I lost a bit of the Keurig.
But like I said, not all liquidation is done via their website. In fact, it's likely that most aren't. Instead, Amazon works with liquidators, people whose entire job revolves around buying and reselling these large pallets of returns. Of course, Amazon isn't doing this all out of the goodness of its own heart. This is yet another place that it can make a profit. Yes, we are talking about even more fees. The first is a processing fee to liquidate your stock. But that's not all Amazon is taking. It's also taking a cut of your profits from the sale to the liquidator as a referral fee. Holy microtransactions, Batman! What is this, Star Wars Battlefront 2? If you are one of the 2 people to actually get that reference, leave a money emoji in the comments, because you are my people. But back.
Oh my goodness, I actually got that reference. Bro, I did not expect Amy to do that. I didn't expect the style theories to do that. It's more of a game theory, film theory thing. The style theories? I mean, in backpack, well, sure.
Back to our giant pallet.
Okay, so I got a reference. Okay, I got a reference.
Of returns. When you see creators hauling huge boxes that they bought via bidding, it's usually from one of these liquidators, not Amazon directly. This is how the liquidator makes its money back. It's placing a bet that the items in the liquidation lot are going to be worth more than the money they paid for it. Now, when it comes to making their money back, they can do this in one of 2 ways. First, they can turn around and resell the entire pallet of items to an eager buyer, like say a creator looking to make an unboxing video. This individual may then take those items and sort through them to find their individual resale values, and then resell them yet again for their own gain on sites like eBay, Mercari, and yes, even braving the wasteland that is Facebook Marketplace. Listen, there are some great deals, but you can't tell me that some of those listings don't give off serial killer energy. I've listened to podcasts. However, if liquidators want to cut out that middleman...
Alright, so it's something similar to what office people call 打太极. So the responsibility passed to me, I'll just push it to someone else, and that mess pass back to me, I'll pass it back to her. Deflect the arrow. So nobody wants to be placed on the chopping block in the office.
They can do the second option, which is creating a store of their own.
This week, we're going to be going to an Amazon liquidation store and getting a haul of Amazon customer returns.
These are brick and mortar stores, which is a fancy way of saying that they exist in real life so you can physically go and shop there, which is great for you because you get to see the condition of the items that you're buying. So what kind of items are they? Across all online stores, apparel, footwear, and accessories are the most returned products, making up about 26% of all returns. Which, let's be real, getting your clothing size right every time is pretty much impossible. And not just because clothing sizes are a scam. It's just that it's easier to buy 3 sizes and return the 2 that don't fit once, rather than order one size, try it on, return it if it doesn't fit, order another size, try it on, return it if it doesn't fit, lather, rinse, repeat. However, right behind it is the second largest category, electronics. Now, surprisingly, most electronics are returned not because of defects, but user confusion. Yeah, a recent survey found that 41% of shoppers had returned a non-defective electronic product in the last 12 months. We really need to read more instruction manuals as a country. This means that these items are completely functional, but only some of them. And that is where we will find our third and final suspect in this capitalism caper. You see, while Amazon and liquidators have certainly benefited from this return renaissance, they aren't the cause. They aren't the ones that turned returns into riches for creators and corporations alike. That, my dear theorists, was all you. Yes, you, watching this video. Odds are you bought and returned an item or 2 in your life, and I bet that at least one of those was from Amazon. Hey!
Okay, nani? Boku, watashi, ore? Huh? Oh, watakushi.
Hey, I'm not judging. I'm just as guilty of giving into free returns as anyone else. Now, returns, in theory, are not a bad thing. If something doesn't fit or it gets damaged in transit, you should be able to get your money back. However, returns have turned into something completely different over the last decade. Back in 2012, the return rate in the US, both in-store and online, was 8.77%, which equals roughly $264 billion. I know. That seems like a lot, but that was just the early days. Online shopping started gaining traction over the late 90s and early aughts, but it didn't become the default until the late 2010s. And then the pandemic hit. Yes, COVID had a huge impact on how we shop and how
Because everybody have to stay at home. Everybody on planet Earth.
much we return. From 2020 to 2021, returns increased from $428 billion to $761 billion. The biggest jump on record. But it's not evil that's fueled this return.
Because don't forget, global pandemic occurred in the year 2020, 2021, 2022, 2022, 2020, 2021, 2022. These 3 years of COVID-19, these 3 years of global pandemic.
Return madness. It's ignorance. Most people, me included, never stop to think about what happens on the other side of that return label. Back in January, this clip from Vice Media was going viral.
You know who's paying for this? Amazon. Apparently, Amazon use robots to process their refunds. But they do it by weight, they don't even open the packages. I emptied all of the pothole filler I'd be using, filled them up with sand until they weighed exactly the same. And I filed for a refund.
Except theorists, as we've learned throughout this entire episode, it's not Amazon who's paying the price here. Now, I'm not going after this guy for what he did. His intentions were good. His information, on the other hand, was not. But after taking a long look through Amazon's seller forum, it is clear there's a big problem. And that problem is return fraud. Now, that sounds big and scary, and obviously something that you would never do, right? You're not buying pothole filler and returning sand, or more realistically, buying a Louis Vuitton bag and returning a knockoff. Yeah, people do that. Dupe culture is wild, y'all. But you may have done something like this. Say you have an important event to go to, and you want to dress to impress. So you buy an expensive dress or suit to wear to that event. But because it costs so much money, you buy it with the intent to return it for your money back. Doing this is technically return fraud. Yeah, but don't worry, the police are not going to show up at your door for this, but these businesses just might. Return fraud accounts for an estimated 13% of returned items. That's roughly $101.9 billion in profit loss. And that cost isn't hurting big businesses like Amazon. It's hitting the sellers, the workers, and everyone else except
Jeffrey Bezos.
We as a culture.
Come on, Jeffrey, you can do it. Oh my gosh, that song is very catchy.
sector of consumers needs to take a hard look at how we shop and what we return, because the impact is huge. This economy of returns and reselling didn't evolve out of nothing. It came out of our bad shopping habits. Listen, I love a good mystery unboxing as much as the next person, and it's not all bad. These new economic systems have created new ways to limit waste, from encouraging people to shop secondhand to having people donate some of these items they get to charity.
Most of the stuff is gonna make for really good donations to local shelters. And I mean, over $7,000 worth of stuff is gonna go to people that probably really need it.
But there is a dark side, a side where all of this really impacts the world that we live in and the businesses that we shop at. But it's not the businesses that are responsible for making this change, at least not fully. We have our own part to play, and we do that by paying attention, by understanding how the systems that we give our money to operate, and by choosing how we want our spending to make an impact. But hey, that's just a theory, a style theory. Keep shopping smart. Next time on Style Theory. According to the Post, if Cassie continued to try to enforce her patent, she would be facing a potential lawsuit against her. What? They can do that?
Alright. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna watch the Optimus Prime reference. Wait.
But hey, that
Amazon Prime. Optimus Prime. Autobots, roll out! But hey, that's just a theory. A style theory. Keep looking sharp. Thank you. Subscribe.